It's time for the SongCast Indie Artist Insider. Hello and welcome to a very special Indie Artist Insider. My name's Joe Kleon, host of Spotlight on SongCastRadio.com, and today we're going to speak with Cleveland musician Eroc Sosinski. Eroc, one of the most prolific musicians in northeastern Ohio, playing with the highly successful Pink Floyd tribute band Wish You Were Here. Eroc also the bass player for over 20 years with Michael Stanley and the Resonators, a phenomenon here in northeastern Ohio. And Eroc also involved with countless other side projects, playing anywhere from 25 sometimes more gigs per month. We are going to talk with Eroc about his experiences and also grab advice on how you can become more successful, how you can come out of the basement and into the clubs, how you can become a full-time musician. First of all, I asked Eroc about his past, about his experience. How did he get to where he is now? Eroc, welcome to the Indie Artist Insider on SongCastRadio.com. Tell us about your experiences, your beginnings, and how did you get to where you're at today?
Well, as an occupation, I was a part-time musician for years. Juggled two careers. I had my career in music and I had a career in radio. And so I started working part-time. I would say when I joined up with Jim Tighe and Harvest in 1987, starting to make a decent living playing regularly, where I was using income from music. At the same time, I was working a full-time job. But then over the course of the next 20 years or so, it was always just a matter of a give and take, working full-time while working part-time with the band. Then at one point, the band got so busy that I was able to leave my job, my full-time radio day job, and just play gigs. And then after a while, I either left the band or I got the opportunity to work part-time then in radio. So over the course of the 20 years then, from 1987 to about 1997, or actually up to about 2000, I was doing that. 2001, I left my full-time job completely and just worked part-time while doing the band full-time. And in 2006, I quit doing even the part-time day job and just solely did music. And I figured I'd pick up a couple more gigs a week and just try a little harder with that, and it's worked out.
You're doing about 25 gigs a month now, right?
Yes, that's usually what I average.
In this segment, Eroc talks about the different types of gigs that he does.
Usually I do a jam night once a week, which is what I host with the band at a club, that has a full-time band, but a rotating guest host every week. And then usually I'll do duo or trio gigs. Band gigs are usually on the weekend. So the thing is being versatile and getting your finger in a number of pies. You can't just be in one band and do that unless you're in a touring, original band or a touring show band.
We are speaking with Eroc Sosinski on this special Indie Artist Insider. Eroc is a bass player, founding member, and one of the vocalists for Wish You Were Here, Midwest premier Pink Floyd tribute. Eroc also the bass player for the last 20 years for Michael Stanley and the Resonators. Eroc performs 25 gigs a month, various side projects, acoustic duos, and things like that. And we are picking his brain, getting tips, tricks, ideas on how you can come out of the basement into the clubs and even become a full-time musician, paying your bills, playing music. In this segment, I asked Eroc in the beginning if it was difficult being unknown, getting his bands into clubs, and how he went about convincing clubs to hire his band and put him up on the stage. It's Eroc Sosinski, special guest on this Indie Artist Insider.
Yeah, it was. Of course, it was a different time then in the 1980s. There were more opportunities, in high school and such. You're playing for at high school events, mixers and dances, and Battle of the Bands, those kind of events. That's the way I actually got into clubs. Was there would be clubs that would be having battles of the bands, and if you're 17 or 18, they would have special nights for kids and stuff like that.
Were you opening for bands at that time? Was that a good way to get into the clubs and get some exposure?
Not really as much, no, because I was doing the cover band circuit, and usually there would just be one band. Whatever way, you've got to show whoever's booking the club that here, this is what we sound like, and we can draw. It's a business, so you can be great, but if you only draw 10 people, they're not going to be interested. In the end, it's about selling beer and revenue. for bars, especially on the cover band circuit.
We are speaking with Eroc Sosinski on this SongCast Indie Artist Insider. Eroc is the bass player, vocalist, and founding member of Wish You Were Here, the Midwest premier Pink Floyd tribute. Eroc also plays bass with Michael Stanley and the Resonators, does 25 gigs a month with various side projects, various musicians, and he is giving us ideas on how to get out of the basement into the clubs and how even to make a full-time living out of playing music. Right now, let's take a little break in the action. Check out Eroc performing live with Wish You Were Here. This was recorded during a capacity crowd October 8th, 2011 at House of Blues in Cleveland. It's Wish You Were Here with Another Brick in the Wall, Part 3. You're listening to the SongCast Indie Artist Insider. My name's Joe Kleon. We are speaking with Eroc Sosinski, bass player, vocalist, founding member from the Pink Floyd tribute band Wish You Were Here. Eroc also bassist for Michael Stanley and the Resonators. He does about 25 gigs a month. He's a full-time musician, pays the bills playing music, and we are talking to him about how he got to the point of being a full-time, self-sufficient musician. In this segment, I asked Eroc, what are the pros and cons of being a full-time musician?
All the pros are doing something that you love. Music is very much a spiritual and, personal kind of calling. Like my favorite part of all of working as a musician is the time when I'm on stage and I'm playing the music and interacting with the audience. Because if I play the music well and they respond to it, it's just the greatest feeling in the world. That's basically the pros, and meeting a lot of cool people and having a good time. The cons are the music business is very difficult. It can be very stressful. It's a lot of dog eat dog, dealing with promoters and some of the scum of the earth.
So you should always work with contracts no matter what size the venue?
A lot of the gigs that I do, the smaller gigs, if you've got a relationship with bar owners and stuff, you don't have to have that. But if you're in a band, contracts are just very important these days. And of course, if somebody's going to screw you over, they will. But you always have that option, being able to take them to small claims court, and it also shows them that you're serious. So contracts are, yes, very important, for a band.
What's it like going from playing a sold-out show with Wish You Were Here or Michael Stanley at a place like House of Blues one night to the next night playing in a very small neighborhood bar?
To three people, yes.
Is that a difficult transition?
It can be, yeah. It's definitely very grounding. So you can't get too full of yourself just because you played in front of some screaming people. And that's the thing too in the business with promoters. You're only as good as how your show right now is selling. Even if your last show sold out, they don't care. You are only worth what you can sell to them right now.
So once you start attracting bigger crowds and playing bigger places, you definitely can't slack on the promotion, right?
No, not at all. It's a constant battle and a constant, you have to have that work ethic, if you want to stay on top and do that.
You are listening to the SongCast Indie Artist Insider. We are speaking with Eroc Sosinski, full-time musician, playing 25 gigs a month, playing with the Pink Floyd tribute band Wish You Were Here for several decades, also longtime bass player for Michael Stanley and the Resonators, a musical phenomenon here in northeastern Ohio. Eroc, what advice do you have to up-and-coming aspiring musicians?
Well, the best way to get better at your instrument is to play live, whether you're playing in a jam night, whether you're just playing in a small bar with not that many people. But that's really the best way to get better at your instrument is at playing with other people and interacting with other musicians. If you're just playing by yourself at home, you're not going to get any better. Also, just getting the experience of playing live, networking. It's just it all adds up to having success later on and being versatile.
Being versatile seems to be the name of the game, especially if you're not in an established touring band and you want to make a full-time living playing music. You definitely have to be versatile. And what do you recommend for musicians that are looking to get to that point where they're doing 25 gigs a month? Do they need to do a lot of acoustic gigs and solo gigs and duo gigs and find avenues like that to get into the smaller bars, to get gigs, to make money? Is that what you recommend?
That's what I recommend. If you can sing, you can find somebody to do a duo, a solo or a duo or a trio. That way you can work during the week. You have to learn how to entertain. I'm not just a musician, I'm an entertainer. You've got to be able to engage an audience.
That seems like it would be really important that a smaller gig, an acoustic gig, a solo gig, a duo gig in a bar, where you're much more up close and personal with the people.
And those kind of gigs have their same, pros and cons. It's great when even if you're just interacting with a small group of people, but you can also just be background noise too. And, where you finish the song and nobody claps and they keep talking and stuff. But, that becomes the key then to whether you want to entertain, whether you want to, be successful and have people put money in your tip jar and, and engage them a bit. And it's, in the end, as much as that's extra work for you, it's ultimately more rewarding.
We are speaking with Eroc Sosinski, full-time musician from Cleveland, Ohio, on this Indie Artist Insider. Eroc, do you have a digital press kit? What does it contain?
Yes, we've got websites, basically. That's our digital press kit. Because, say, if I was an original band, I would have something that were more, okay, here's our songs. But because I'm doing a variety of things, and most of our gigs are either from word of mouth or our reputation, I don't need to quite have that forceful push of that. But the websites, Facebook pages, especially if you want to promote your gigs, Facebook and social media.
So your websites for your individual projects would basically contain all the elements of a digital press kit, bio, videos, some audio samples, things like that, right?
Right, exactly, yes. Like for Wish You Were Here, we've got a bio page, we've got a photo, we've got a downloads page that you can download. Music for, radio ads, you've got photos, we've got video links to YouTube clips. You've got to pretty much show off your band in the best light that you can.
How important is it for bands to put a bit of money and time into things like their bio, photos, their band image, websites, things like that?
I think it's very important, especially videos. Knowing especially from since one of my acts is a tribute act, it's very important to do a professional looking video, because a tribute act is not only just, hearing the band, you got to see the band and see how they entertain. And, since most tribute bands, you're, either trying to look a certain part, whether it's down to the costumes or not, or whether it's just to the attitude, like a light show with like Pink Floyd. Video is very important. Yes, and the whole that whole package of photos and website and that.
You are listening to the SongCast Indie Artist Insider. My name's Joe Kleon. Our special guest is Eroc Sosinski, full-time musician in Cleveland, Ohio, bass player, founding member, vocalist for the Pink Floyd tribute Wish You Were Here. Also the bass player for Michael Stanley and the Resonators. Plays a host of duo, solo, and trio gigs throughout the area. 25 gigs a month. And in the last video, we saw Eroc on stage with Wish You Were Here at House of Blues in front of about 1,000 people. Now we're going to give you the opposite side of the spectrum. Eroc and Jim Tighe at the Oriole Cafe in Berea, small neighborhood bar, entertaining the crowd with me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Your face is flush. I'm having a good time.
Yeah!
I am too. Oh, we gotta do this for Joe Kleon.
Mama pajama rolled out of bed, ran into the police station. Well, Papa found out, he began to shout, start the investigation. It's against the law.
It is?
Was against the law.
Okay.
Was your mama saw law? Was was against the law. Ooh, mama looked down, spit on the ground every time her name gets mentioned.
Yes, they are. Oh, mine isn't.
Well, Papa found out, he began to shout. I started the investigation. I'm on my way. I don't know where I'm going. I'm on my way. Taking my time, but I don't know when. Goodbye, road. Sing, Queen of the Coronas. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. See me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Whoa, in a couple of days you're gonna take me away. Press at the story lead.
Cleon's getting all this on video.
Where the radical priests come to get you released. It's all on the cover of Newsweek. I'm on my way. I don't know where I'm going. I'm on my way.
God, we're so bad, aren't we?
Taking my time, but I don't know where. Goodbye, Rosie, Queen of the Coronas. Seeing me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Seeing me and Julio down by the schoolyard. Seeing me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
They're doing jello shots up there.
Have a good night, we're Jim.
Eroc.
Classic rock duo. See you next time.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Eroc Sosinski performing with Jim Tighe at the Oreo Cafe in Berea, Ohio. That was me and Julio down by the schoolyard. You are listening to the SongCast Indie Artist Insider. My name's Joe Kleon, host of Spotlight on SongCastRadio.com, and we're talking with Eroc Sosinski about being a full-time musician, about playing with bands such as Wish You Were Here and Michael Stanley, where they're playing for packed houses at the area's biggest venues, to going to playing in small clubs, playing 25 gigs a month, supporting yourself playing music. And in this segment, I talked to Eroc about social media. Is social media essential being a musician in today's day and age?
It's hard to say because I've seen it deliver in all kinds of ways, both good and bad. In other words, I've promoted stuff for some gigs, like saying, hey, duo gigs and such, to come out, and we might only have a couple people that might come out. And then there's other gigs where you've got 10, 20, 30, 40 people, and these are for the smaller gigs. And for the bigger gigs, obviously, they're even more important. So it's important. The thing is not to just only do that. You still have to do promotion at the clubs, in-house promotion with your, flyers and posters. You still got to do, word of mouth and putting stuff up at the stores as well.
So even with all the gigs you play, you still find time to visit each club and deliver flyers and promotional material personally?
Yes, or else have the club download that. But generally, if you want to make sure you get it done, most of the time you have to go and do it yourself and put the stuff up on the walls. I've had experience where, you drop stuff off at the club and they, oh yeah, we'll put it up, and then they don't put it up.
And that goes to my next question. What happens when a club doesn't do their fair share in promoting one of your performances?
Then you've got to take the matters into your own hands, and then you don't play there. Or you work that into, the contract saying, the bar must have in-house promotion. House of Blues is great with, promoting that. Obviously, the bigger promoters, will be doing that. Smaller clubs, though, you're usually on your own. But the thing is, you always have to keep an eye out for it. Don't assume that they're going to do it.
How is it possible doing 25 shows a month to promote them all?
That's why I put out, every 3 months, we put out a gig schedule. Me and Jim Tighe, my partner, that I do about over probably 3/4 of my gigs with.
So most of your gigs are booked 3 months in advance?
Usually, yeah. Yes, and there's some stuff we have booked for the year. I've already got some gigs booked in, a year from now. Some bars and some acts book, we'll book dates for across the whole year. However, the bigger touring acts might only book, out 2 months out, 3 months out. But yeah, we're having a printed schedule, is something that's important as well, for us, at least for the kind of gigs that I do. And I'm posting every day on Facebook. Again, even if it's just 2 people that might come, it's keeping your name out there and promoting.
We are speaking with Eroc Sosinski on this SongCast Indie Artist Insider. Eroc is the bass player, founding member, and vocalist for Pink Floyd tribute Wish You Were Here. Also plays bass with Michael Stanley and the Resonators. Eroc does 25 gigs a month. He is a full-time musician, and he is telling us about it, giving you some information that might help you get out of the basement and into a full-time career in music. So in this segment, I asked Eroc, how much time outside of performing do you spend each week doing legwork, administrative stuff, and behind-the-scenes work on promoting your gigs and getting new gigs?
I don't know. I'm on the computer a lot. Usually hitting a club or a bar at least once a week to take stuff somewhere. I don't know how much time.
But you have to spend a lot of time just booking gigs, playing 25 a month, right?
Yeah, it's a constant thing. Yeah, usually I do it in groupings. It's this week, okay, I'll work on this, and as it gets time, usually around for example, clubs that book for the year tend to do that in October and November. So right now, we're still working on booking gigs that we've got other places. I've already got the gigs scheduled till December of 2013.
Give us a general idea of some of the behind-the-scenes work that you do. When you're playing 25 gigs a month, there's just got to be so much administrative, so much behind-the-scenes stuff. Give us a brief idea of what you do when you're not on the stage.
Well, it's much of what we said is what we've been talking about, the promotion. Phone calls, a lot. Calling the clubs and the promoters and waiting for them to call back. Calling the musicians, emailing, sending out emails, waiting for emails to come back.
Are you still looking for new places to play? Or since you've played at so many for so long, do you just pull from a list of venues that you already have experience and familiarity with?
Mostly a bass, but for Wish You Were Here, it's, we're still looking for those places, here and there to play as well. And with the duo and trio, it is nice to find somewhere different. Places are always opening up. Places close, places open. So there's always that, to tie into as well. For example, trying to get more. I'd love to be playing down in Key West or down south more during the winter. And so that's also a challenge, is to try and get yourself out in those different places. So yeah, that's part of it too.
Any final advice for bands or musicians that are just starting out and, wishing to do more with their musical careers?
Well, it's, again, to be versatile. My experience comes from mostly the cover band circuit, although I do play originals with, and Michael Stanley and that, with that aspect. But I've been able to jump into that band. Well, I've been with him for 20 years, but, that already had kind of a machine going with that. But the main thing, with anything, is just dedication. And if you want to do it full time, you've got to be versatile and have something to fall back on, and don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. It's just to be as versatile and as my keyboardist used to say, take the gig.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Eroc, and sharing your experiences with our vast network of SongCast independent artists.
Thank you, Joe.
We're going to end off this special Indie Artist Insider with one final clip from Eroc, Sosinski, and Wish You Were Here. This is from the Newport in Columbus, Ohio, recorded November 12th, 2011, an amazing version of In the Flesh 2. It's Wish You Were Here, the Pink Floyd tribute, ending off this SongCast Indie Artist Insider.